Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Man at NET. In this session we are going to cover the upper limb muscles. Now remember this thing that I am not going to cover every single muscle. Okay, I am just going to give you name of the major muscles that you should know for your viva or even for your theory exams. Okay, I am just giving you the major muscles, region wise, as well as the muscle that you should remember for the upcoming nerves, because if you just start with the nerves without learning about these muscles, then it would be a hard hit for you. Okay, so before starting the nerves, I am just giving you a rough idea about the which nerves we are going to study. The nerves which we are going to study are going to supply what muscles. Okay, so at that time when I tell you the nerves and I tell you about this muscle, so it should not be like this. Okay, I am hearing about this muscle for the very first time. Okay, I will give you like just a quick brief about the muscles that are present in our whole upper limb region wise. Okay, so what regions do we have? We have shoulder joint, we have our arm. In arm we will have our two compartment, that is the anterior compartment and the posterior compartment. Then we will have our forearm, in which we will have the flexor compartment and the extensor compartment. Okay, then we will move off to our hand. Okay, done. In this video I will give you like just a hook about what muscle movements they would do. Okay, I will not get into detail about the movements, because that you will learn in the individual joints. Okay, so starting with the first, shoulder joint. In shoulder joint, the muscles that you need to know, shoulder region. Okay, the muscles that you need to know are about deltoid. Okay, we have our shoulder region. So with shoulder region, we you know that one video I took, okay, in which I told you about the rotator cuff muscles. Where were these muscles present? Where were these rotator cuff muscles present? They were present in the shoulder region. Yes, so the SITS, that was our supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. Okay, then what do we have? These are the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, then we have our teres major, pectoralis major, latissimus dorsi, biceps short head, and coracobrachialis. Okay, so these are the muscles that are present in our shoulder region. Okay, now remember this one thing, when you will learn about the shoulder joint, these are the only muscles that are going to cause flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, or the circumduction at the shoulder joint. Okay, these are the muscles that are responsible for the movement of the shoulder joint. Done. Okay, when I will be taking the class of the shoulder session about the shoulder joint, in that I will tell you about what individual muscle does the individual action. Okay, that will be covering that. Okay, now remember this one thing, that with this nerve supply also becomes very important. Okay, so the shoulder region muscles, this whole shoulder region, it is going to be supplied by 3 nerves. Okay, what 3 nerves? That would be your axillary nerve, then we have your suprascapular nerve, and we have your subscapular nerve. Okay, comment down the root values. Okay, I've taught you about them in the brachial plexus lecture. If you have not seen it, please check it out. Okay, so comment down the root value. Okay. Now moving off to our second region, that is our arm. Okay, arm, it is also referred to as the brachial region. Okay. In arm, we have two compartments. Okay. First, that is our flexor compartment. Okay. Okay. So when you are standing in the anatomical position, the side which is facing the front, that is the flexor compartment. Okay. And we have your extensor compartment that is present at your back side. Okay. So flexor compartment or the anterior compartment, in that we have your biceps brachii, brachialis, and coracobrachialis. Now see, these whole three muscles are going to be supplied by what now? These muscles are going to be supplied by a musculocutaneous nerve. Okay, so the musculocutaneous nerve, it is referred to as the nerve of the anterior compartment of the arm because it supplies the muscles of the arm, flexor compartment of the arm. Okay, now the posterior compartment, in posterior compartment or the extensor compartment, we have your two muscles, that is your triceps brachii and anconeus. Now, what is the nerve that is going to supply these two muscles? That is going to be your radial nerve. Okay. Now the name of all the nerves that I am going to write here, write their root values. Okay, just try to revise it. Okay. Now these are your flexors, these are your extensors. Then what they are going to do? These are going to do your flexion at elbow joint, and these are going to do your extension at elbow joint. As simple as that, because they are named as such. Okay, they are present in the flexor compartment, they will do the flexion at the elbow joint. They are present in the extensor compartment, they are going to do the extension at the shoulder elbow joint. Okay. Done. Now moving to our next compartment, that is your forearm. Now referring to the forearm, I would say students find it a bit tricky. Okay, but believe me, this is one of the most, I will not say that it is not tricky, it is tricky for students. It was tricky for me as well. Okay, because there are so many muscles. We have your flexor compartment, in that we have two types of muscle, that we have superficial muscles, we have deep muscles. In the extensor compartment, we have superficial, we have deep. Okay, and there were so many muscles. Okay, so you do not have to learn every single muscle. Okay, but you should know grossly about the nerve supply. Okay, it is good that if you remember all the muscles. Okay, it would be very good. Okay, that you remember all the muscles, but you should remember more about the nerve supply. Okay, that the flexors, why are they called, why the muscles that are present in the anterior compartment of the forearm, they are called the flexors, because they do flexion at the wrist joint. Okay, so what what nerve is going to supply the muscles that are present in the flexor compartment? Okay, and what are the exceptions? Okay, now once you remember that, now what happens is if your nerve is injured, then what would happen? Your flexion would be lost. Okay, now going back to the so because of it, what would happen? Your extension would become more powerful. Okay, seeing the opposite situation, the posterior compartment or the extensor compartment of the forearm. Okay, remember the muscles, what they are going to do? They are going to do extension at the wrist joint. Okay, so if the nerve supply of this region is lost, okay, then these muscles will become useless, and the opposite movement will become more strong, because of which you will suffer with the drop hand. Okay, drop hand, which we refer to as commonly. Okay, so remember this. Okay, not every single muscle you will know. I will not say that you are not going to remember them, but try. Okay, so in forearm we have first the anterior compartment, the flexor compartment. Now this flexor compartment, why we are referring this to as the flexor compartment with respect to the wrist joint, but we also refer this to as the pronator group. Okay, why? Because they do pronation at the elbow joint. Okay, pronator group. Okay, so what muscle do we have here? Now, as I already told you, we have two types of muscle in the superficial layer as well as in the deep layer. Superficial layer and deep layer. Okay, starting with the superficial layer. In superficial layer, the first muscle that we have is the pronator teres. We have flexor carpi radialis. We have palmaris longus, and we have our flexor carpi ulnaris, and then we have our flexor digitorum superficialis. Okay, now these are the muscles that we have in our superficial layer. Now going to the deep layer, in deep layer we have flexor digitorum profundus, we have flexor pollicis longus, we have pronator quadratus. Okay, so this was all about the flexor compartment. Now remember this one thing, the flexor compartment, it is mainly supplied by flexor compartment, it is mainly supplied by the median nerve, except, what are the two exceptions? That is your flexor carpi ulnaris and medial half of pronator quadratus. Okay, apart from these two muscles, all these muscles, okay, apart from which two muscles? Pronator quadratus, medial half, and the flexor carpi ulnaris. Apart from these two particular muscles, all these muscles, they are going to be supplied by the median nerve. Okay, now why do we say, I'm just going off topic here, why do we say that we have wrist drop? Okay, not the drop hand, now I remember, the wrist drop, but we do not have the wrist up. We have the drop, but why not the wrist goes up? The reason behind it, which we will eventually learn in the median nerves course, that is the median nerve is quite deep, so it has very rare chances to get injured. Okay, so because of that reason we do not have wrist up, or our wrist just goes up. Okay, but it does go down. Okay, wrist drop does happen. Okay, so this was all about it. So now when we will learn about the median nerve, this all will become easy for you. Now that will be just a revision for you. Now you have to remember, okay, yes, in the forearm we have two regions, that is the flexor compartment. In the flexor compartment, all the muscles except for the flexor carpi ulnaris and the pronator quadratus, all the muscles are going to be supplied by the median nerve. Easy, done. And then we have our extensor compartment. Okay, in your extensor compartment, again we have superficial layers and deep layer. Superficial layer, and we have your deep layer. Okay, I am going to write it here. So extensor compartment, of forearm, superficial. So in superficial, starting with, we have first brachioradialis. Now I told you that we refer the flexor compartment as the flexor group, so we refer this extensor compartment as the supinator group. Okay, extensor with what respect? With respect to the wrist joint. Supinator with what respect? With respect to the biceps, elbow joint. Okay, we have our brachioradialis, we have extensor carpi radialis longus. We have now, if we have a long muscle, I'm saying that if I am having a long muscle, then surely I'm going to have a short muscle, because on what respect I'm saying that I am having a long muscle. Okay, so if we have ECR, that is the extensor carpi radialis longus, then I'm going to have ECRB also, extensor carpi radialis brevis. Okay, now I have, apart from that, now I have radialis muscle. I have a muscle on the radial side. Eventually I will also have a muscles on the ulnar side, so I have extensor carpi ulnaris. But remember this, on the ulnar side we do not have the longest muscles or the brevis muscles. I only have one muscle. And apart from that, I have covered two sides. I have covered the radial side, I have covered the ulnar side. Now what is remaining? The remaining is the middle one. Okay, so in the middle I have two. Okay, that is the extensor digitorum and extensor digiti minimi. Okay, now remember this one thing, this all muscles, grossly speaking, this all muscles are going to be supplied by the radial now. Now it is not entirely true, but it is not entirely false also. Okay, because these are going to be supplied by the posterior interosseous branch of the radial now, but some of these muscles are going to be supplied by the posterior interosseous branch of the radial now, or some of them are going to be supplied by the deep branch of the radial now. But from the gross aspect, okay, it is true that it is going to be supplied by the radial now. Now coming to the deep layer, right now just remember about the gross aspect, that extensor compartment, superficial muscles, radial now. Okay, don't go in that much detail right now. You will have to go in that much detail when I'm going to be covering the particular individual nerve, but you do not have to cover it right now. Okay, just remember this one particular thing, that this muscle or this group of muscle, this particular now. Okay, because once you learn this, the applied part of the, what do we say, the nerves will become easier for you. Okay, so in the deep layer we have your abductor pollicis longus. Now again, if I have a longus, then eventually I will also have a brevis. But here is not the case. Okay, only here we have abductor pollicis longus. Done. Apart from that, we have extensor pollicis brevis. Now tell me, if I'm having a brevis, that is mean if I'm having a short muscle, will I have a long muscle? Because in the initially I saw that I have a long muscle, but I do not have a short muscle. Will that be the case in this one? No, it is not. Okay, we will surely have our long muscle, that would be your extensor pollicis longus. And apart from that, we will have our extensor indicis. Okay, now these all muscles are also going to be supplied by the radial now. Okay, these are going to be supplied by the posterior interosseous branch of the radial now, but grossly right now remember that it is going to be supplied by the radial now. Okay, so what we have covered, our shoulder region, we have covered our this arm region, we have covered the forearm region. Okay, now moving to the hand. Okay, in hand I would say it is not much of a necessity that you remember each and every muscle, but I'm not saying like they will not particularly ask a short note based on purely hand. Okay, it is like what do we say, that credit question. If your Viva is going too well, then they will. Okay, so in your hand, first you will have the thenar region, thenar muscles. Okay, in thenar muscles, what muscles? They are the thumb muscle. They are the muscle that are present in your thumb region. Okay, and all of them are going to be supplied by the median nerve. But there is always an exception, except one. Okay, what one? We will see. Okay, so what muscles do we have here? We have your abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis. Now remember, in flexor pollicis brevis we have two heads, that is the superficial head and deep head. This deep head, it is the exception. Okay, the deep head of the flexor pollicis brevis is the exception, which is going to be supplied by your ulnar now. Okay, moving to the third muscle, that is your opponens pollicis, and it is also going to be supplied by your median now. Now we are done with the one side. In forearm we had our radial side and our ulnar side. In the hand we are going to have two sides, that is the thenar, that is the thumb side, and the little finger side, that is your hypothenar side. So hypothenar muscle, that is your little finger muscle. Okay, now all these muscles are going to be supplied by your ulnar now. Okay, there is no exception here. Okay, you are spared this time. Okay, so what do we have? We have our abductor digiti minimi, we have your flexor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi brevis, and lastly your opponens digiti minimi. Now can you see a pattern here? Okay, yes, we can see here. Okay, on the thenar side it is referred to as the pollicis, and the same thing on the what do we say, on the hypothenar side it is referred to as the digiti minimi. Yes, you have to just remember, yes, I have three muscles, that is your abductor, flexor, and opponents. Okay, these three muscles are present on the, if they are present on the hypothenar side, then they are called as the abductor digiti minimi, they are called as the flexor digiti minimi brevis, then and opponents digiti minimi. If they are present on the thenar side, then they are called as the abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis, and the opponents pollicis. Why? Because your, in anatomical terms, your little finger, okay, it is referred to as a digiti minimi. Your thumb, it is referred to as the pollicis, right? In hands we also have your lumbrical muscles. Okay, in hands we have your lumbricals, we have your four lumbricals. We have four lumbrical, of which your two lateral, now this lateral we are standing in the anatomical position, so your two lateral are going to be supplied by median now, and two medial are going to be supplied by your ulnar now. Okay, and lastly we have your interosseous muscle. Okay, interosseous muscles are going to be supplied by your ulnar now. All interosseous are supplied by your ulnar now. Okay, in interosseous we have palmar interossi and dorsal interossi. We have palmar interossi, that is present on the palmar side. Okay, and the dorsal interossi. There are four muscles here and there are three muscles here, and all of them they are going to be supplied by the ulnar now. Okay, and we, additionally we also have the abductor muscle of the thumb. That is going to be supplied by your ulnar now. So done. So this might give you an idea about the nerves also. Okay, so this session was basically about giving you a rough idea about the muscles that are going to be supplied by the nerves. Okay, this session is purely about giving you a rough idea, because once let me assure you that once you not correlate, you are not going to correlate it right now, but once you like just mug it up right now for a second. Okay, mug it up right now for a second, then go to your dissection, see the muscles, see the nerves, that they are present in the same compartment. Okay, the flexor muscles and the nerve that is going to supply them, they are present at the same compartment. Okay, what muscles, what joints they are crossing? They are crossing the wrist joint and they are crossing the elbow joint. Okay, so what movement they are going to be bringing about at those particular joints? Flexor compartment, it is the supinator, then it is going to be getting the flexor supination at the elbow joint, and it is the flexor. Okay, it is flexor with respect to the wrist joint, then it is going to do the flexion at the wrist joint. Okay, so just correlate it right now, just mug up the name of the muscles, but eventually this will become like once you have mug it up like 10 times, 14 times, 15 times or 20 times, then one time will come that it will become a muscle memory for you. Okay, this muscle, this nerve supply, and this happens to the muscle when the nerve is damaged. Okay, so it will become like a motor memory for you, like what we used to do in your NEET examination, like with the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. You just used to mug it off till that extent that it used to become a muscle memory for you. Okay, this animal, it belongs to particular phylum and all. Okay, so so before, if you are starting your nerves, please refer to this particular session. Thank you. Okay, we'll meet you at the nerves.